After graduating animation school, I did this drawing of a kid walking from his mom's house to his dad's car. And that went online, and I got a response from friends, and people like really connected with this theme of divorce in a surprising way. And then I started sharing stories about my experiences and found them really connective and felt there was a story there. That's kind of when I started fleshing a narrative out based on my own life experiences growing up in a divorced family. About 10 years in total, if I'm being brutally honest, and maybe 5 years where I was intensely like writing and boarding on it. Yeah, so I had the idea in my pocket for 10 years, had some images, but then about 5 years ago really started like writing seriously and storyboarding and editing and animatic. Biggest challenge with that for me was kind of ciphering out what was relatable for other people and what was just like a personal kind of memory or emotion. So I would have a close group of friends I would share reels with a lot, and they would kind of tell me what resonated, what didn't, what made them feel A or B, and I kind of like tested it a lot in different versions, and they were really kind of integral to that writing process for me. Early on, I always envisioned it as kind of this several-week structure, like a year, and seasonality being a big part of it. And then when I took my first serious writing pass, I tried to make it one weekend, just to be able to finish the film, to make it something I could actually do. I boarded that, cut it together, and it felt way too short. And I missed the back and forth, the feeling that you actually have when you're in a divorced family, and I wanted to feel more of that. And that's when I started to develop the parents' stories individually and kind of arc them more and find things that would happen. It's like a perspective on it, you know, and hopefully people feel how it felt to be in there. There's a big emphasis for me on things being more disorienting and confusing, which is how it is. I think people that have seen the film that come from divorced families, they've connected with it not because the specifics are the same, but because the feeling of not really knowing what's happening or why it's happening and understanding it later is sort of universal to that. When you're working on a bigger film, you're sort of immersed in that world, and it's hard to be in another one. For me, I kind of have this like one-track focus where like if I'm in something, I'm in something. That's a challenge in itself, and I think it's a good thing to be aware of for anyone that wants to do something similar. And it's just really about carving out time for yourself and not trying to juggle too much stuff at once. So I would find slower periods and use those windows of time as deadlines for myself, and really try to accomplish concrete goals, like do a whole pass of the film and boards. And then the next kind of slow period, if I had a long weekend or something, I would try to edit the whole thing and just kind of do it in waves very slowly, and that's why it took so long. But that's how I wrote it over time. And then to actually produce the thing, I had to time it and basically take a 1 year leave of absence from work. Other people helped me make the film, so that was important for the length. I think if I had done something in the 4 or 5 minute range, I would be able to, maybe do it on my own, but it's 15-minute short. About 26 or 27 people helped me in total. That ranges from, production designer, artists, animators, to people that did vocalization work on the film and sound mixers. Biggest collaborator for me was Chris Sasaki, who's a production designer on the short. And he saw a version early on before I kind of got into production, and offered to kind of help do a few concept pieces. And I really loved his work before, and I think as he started working on the project, he became more kind of attached to it. And I was lucky enough to have him agree to like be production designer and kind of set the style for it. And then we had about 6 or 7 background painters work with Chris and kind of get the style right, the kind of recipe he set for the whole film. And about 6 animators that all had like little chunks, so like 3 or 4 shots in a row. This is my first time working with a team of people. I'd done one film before, but it was just me. The challenge was just kind of like being available and still being productive on my own because I had to animate and do other stuff, but just being able to communicate what I kind of needed or wanted, and also being open to them bringing something to the table was a totally new experience to me, but like super gratifying. And I can't really imagine the film without their contributions now, even though it's so personal, and I always imagined doing it by myself. So it's been a really amazing experience having all that support and help to make it. Yeah. First of all, picking an idea you feel just like you have to do. And for me, I picked this kind of personal idea because it was kind of therapeutic. I felt personally attached to it. I could never really forget about it or just let it go away. So I think just finding the thing you're in love with and you can't let go of is really important, because that sustained me over 10 years, even though I had dips. Just like cultivating a belief in yourself, like maintaining that throughout all the studio work you do, and kind of finding ways to hang on to your voice and feed that however that needs to be fed. I think that's really important.